With the Maidens, Part 2. Once upon a time in the land of Umueze, there were series of irregular mishaps with the maidens, from the constant leaking of the maidens' water pots to suitor disappointments. No one knew what could be the cause behind the bad omens. The elders consulted the village seer to find out what was going on with the maidens and how they can fix it. They were told that the reason for the maidens' broken water pots and suitor disappointments was because the golden staff, which represent the growth and success of the maidens in Umueze land, has been stolen. The elders were shocked to learn that someone stole the golden staff. The seer told them to go home and that everything will be revealed to them in due time. The elders went home and told everyone what the seer revealed to them. The maidens were not happy to learn that someone had stolen the golden staff that represents their growth and success. They all thought that Omar was responsible because she was not experiencing the unlucky incidents that they found themselves in. Since all of the mishaps started, a couple of suitors have come to ask for Omar's hand in marriage, and no suitors have come to ask for the hand of the other maidens in marriage. Those that had suitors were getting disappointed by their suitors. It was a sad time for the maidens, and so they made a rule that no maiden will get married until the golden staff is found. The rule was primarily to stop Omar from getting married because she was the only one that was attracting suitors. The maidens' rules that no maiden will get married until the golden staff is found did not change anything for the maidens because no man came for their hand in marriage. Rather, Omar continued to attract suitors from far and wide, and the maidens were envious of her and made sure that they stood their ground, that no maiden from their land will get married until the golden staff is returned. When Omar's sixth suitor, Udi, came to ask for her hand in marriage, he came with lots of gift. It was rumored that he was the son of a wealthy man from the neighboring kingdom. Some maidens went as far as conniving to tell lies against Omar so as to stop Udi from asking for Omar's hand in marriage. "Omar is a thief," Neka, one of the maidens, said to Udi. "How do you know that?" Udi asked, looking at Neka with doubt on his face. "You can ask any maiden. They will tell you the same thing." "She is a thief," Neka responded. "I don't believe it. Did she steal anything from you?" Udi asked Neka, still doubting her. "Not exactly," Neka said, "but she stole something from all of us. The golden staff, which brings good luck to the maidens, is missing. We are all convinced that Omar must have stolen it so that she will be the only one with good luck," she concluded. Udi was still not convinced that Omar did what they were accusing her of. Another maiden also approached him to tell him that Omar is not a good person and that she was only pretending to be nice so as to look good. A third maiden told him that Omar is a liar. Udi did not believe any of the bad things the maidens said about Omar. When the maidens saw that Udi was determined to go forward in marrying Omar, they decided to play their last card to stop any marriage talk between Udi and Omar. The maidens went to the elders and reminded them to enforce the decision that no maiden in the land can get married until the missing golden staff is found. This finally frustrated Udi, and he saw that there was no way he could marry Omar if the people of Umueze refused to support his marriage proposal to Omar and lift the marriage ban on their maidens. More mishaps started to occur with the maidens. This time, the maidens of the land started to point fingers at each other for their missing items. The first incident occurred with Ezine. She was accused of stealing beads belonging to her friends. It all started when some of the maidens found out that their beaded jewelries were missing. One of the maidens, who was very close to Ezine, found the missing jewelries in Ezine's house when she visited her, and she alerted the other maidens to see if their missing beads were there too. The maidens gathered at Ezina's house and confronted her about their beads found in her house. "What are our beads doing in your house?" Ego questioned Ezine. "I don't know how the beads got here," Ezine replied with her eyes wide open. "I am surprised as you are to see the beads in my house," she concluded. "I don't believe you," said another maiden. If you didn't steal the beads from us, then how come they ended up in your house? She asked. Maybe someone stole your beads and hid them in my house. I was looking for some of my beads, and I'm surprised to see them here with all of your missing beads, she explained. The maidens were not satisfied with Ezine's explanations, and they told her that she is not welcome to participate in their gatherings anymore until they decide how to address the situation. Ezine was devastated and she cried herself to sleep that night. Not long after that, another incident occurred with the maidens when they went to fetch water from the stream one early afternoon. The maidens removed some of the items they were wearing, including their footwears and jewelries, and left them under a palm tree before they went into the deeper end of the stream. When they returned, their items were gone. No one knew what happened to the maidens' items at that time or who took them. Surprisingly, the items were discovered in the old water pots in Ogre's house. It also happened that Ogre was not at the stream with the other maidens the day their footwears disappeared. Upon discovering the footwears at Ogre's house, the maidens immediately suspected her of stealing their footwears, and they confronted her. "We heard that our missing footwears were found in your house," said one of the maidens. "You have an explanation to give, so start talking." "I don't know who took your items and hid them in my house," Ogre explained. "It wasn't me," she concluded. "Why is it that our missing items were found in your old water pot? And if you didn't take them, then who did?" Necker questioned Ogre. "I don't know who took them," Ogre relied. "And I didn't hide your missing items in my house. Perhaps someone is trying to frame me," expressed Ogre, looking at the maidens' faces as if she is trying to figure out which one of the maidens stole the missing items and tried to frame her. "If you are saying that you didn't do it, then who did?" Necker asked, pressing for an answer. "Maybe Ada did because she doesn't like me, and I can see why she would want me to be accused wrongly." "What?" yelled Ada. "So you want attention to be taken away from you on this matter, and that is why you have to mention my name," Ada angrily said. An argument ensued between Ogre and Ada. By the time they knew it, the maidens started to suspect each other for stealing the items and hiding it in Ogre's house. As time went on, more of the maidens' items continued to disappear, and they pointed fingers at each other in accusation, causing chaos and so much distrust among the maidens. While the maidens constantly argue and fight with each other, Omar was busy carrying on with her life, visiting the elderly and the orphans as she has always done. One day, when Omar was going to visit the children at the orphanage, she came across a woman who looked tired and hungry. Omar offered her some fruits from the fruit basket she was carrying. She chatted with the woman for a while. As she was about to leave, two maidens came and asked the woman not to eat the fruits that Omar had given to her. They claimed that the woman will inherit bad luck from Omar if she eats the fruits. The maidens reached out to Omar's basket of fruits and poured the fruits on the ground. Omar was very devastated by this. A gentleman named Mezu, who was from a neighboring kingdom, was passing by, stopped, and asked them what the problem was. The maidens explained that Omar was trying to pass on bad luck to the woman by giving her some fruits. The woman also explained to Mezu what happened and told him that Omar did nothing wrong and that she was very kind to her. Mezu told the maidens not to bother Omar again, and he walked Omar home to ensure that she got home safely because Omar was distressed by the maidens' actions. Soon after, Omar and Mezu became friends. Mezu will often stop by Omar's house to walk her to visit the elderly and the orphans. The maidens saw that Omar had a new friend, and they were not bothered at all because they thought that Mezu had no prospects and therefore had nothing to offer Omar. The maidens saw Mezu as a poor hunter who was temporarily living in their land. They didn't think highly of him because they thought he had no money and status. However, the maidens observed that Mezu consistently visited Omar and would sometimes accompany her to run errands. As Omar and Mezu's friendship progressed, they became fond of each other. One day, as Mezu walked Omar home from her visit to the elderly homes, he asked Omar to marry her, and Omar said yes. Omar's parents were happy for her, and they wondered how the maidens will react to the news that Omar had a suitor. Mezu informed Omar's parents that he will come with his people to perform the marriage rites and take Omar with him to his land. When the news got around that Mezu had asked Omar to marry her, the maidens all laughed at what they heard. Apparently, they had no problem with Omar getting married to Mezu, even though they had initially agreed that no maiden will get married until the golden staff is found. "Good for them. They deserve each other," said one maiden. "He is poor and have nothing to offer her," said another maiden. "She will live in poverty with him," she chuckled, and others laughed in agreement. "She can marry him and leave this land. We don't want her to bring any more bad luck to us," another maiden added. The maidens sometimes laughed and mocked Omar when they run into her. In their mind, they believed Omar was finally getting something bad for once because Mezu was a poor hunter with no money. Some even felt sorry for her and wondered what her future will look like. Omar and her parents were surprised that Omar did not get any pushback when the news got around that Mezu proposed to her. They were relieved that the marriage will hold without any hitches when Mezu brings his family members to perform the marriage rites. On one beautiful afternoon, people in the land of Umweze watched as an entourage passed by, bearing all sorts of beautiful and expensive gifts. They all wondered where the entourage was heading. At one point, a few elders waved on the entourage to stop. The elders asked the entourage where they were headed. The elders soon found out that the entourage of people bearing plenty of gifts were headed to Omar's house. On getting to Omar's compound, the strangers requested to speak with the elders to make their intentions known. When word spread that the strangers with plenty of gifts were from the royal family of the neighboring kingdom and that the prince was coming to marry Omar, many people became envious. They immediately moved to inform the strangers that the prince of their land cannot ask for Omar's hand in marriage because Omar was already betrothed to Mezu, a hunter from the neighboring village. The maidens also concurred with the elders. It was obvious that the whole support of Omar being betrothed to Mezu, the hunter was not out of love for Omar, but out of envy to stop the prince from asking for Omar's hand in marriage. "That should not be a problem. Omar can choose for herself," said a voice, which came from one of the strangers. Just then, a young man who was elegantly dressed like a prince emerged from the crowd of strangers. His face was covered, and it looked like he was intentionally disguised to conceal his identity. "I am the Prince of Atta Kingdom," said the young man, dressed in a royal regalia. As everyone watched, he removed the covering on his face. To everyone's amazement, he was Mezu, the hunter from the neighboring kingdom. "What?" screamed some people. "I know that my real identity may have come as a surprise to you," the prince said. "I wanted to conceal my identity in order to find a good maiden who will marry me for love and not because I'm a prince." At this point, everyone was shocked to learn that Mezu, the poor hunter, is the same person standing in front of them as the Prince of Atta. "Now that everyone knows my real identity," the prince said, "I will like to commence the marriage rites and take my bride home." But the maidens currently have a rule that no maiden will get married until the golden staff, which brings good luck and success to our maidens, is found, said one of the elders. "Yes, we all agreed that no maiden will get married until the golden staff is found," one of the maidens concurred. The other maidens present nodded their heads in support of what the last speaker said. If that is the case, then how come the maidens did not have any objection to Mezu's proposal to Omar? Asked one of the elders. "Let's not go back to our words and do the honorable thing. Mezu's proposal to Omar was accepted then, and it is still accepted now because he is the same person, even though he turned out to be a prince." "I agree," echoed another elder with others in support. We have to keep to our words, he concluded. The prince and his people performed the necessary marriage rites, and Omar and the prince were declared man and wife. The prince invited everyone to the reception he plans to have for Omar at the palace. There was a big celebration, as the prince brought more than enough food and drinks with him for the occasion. When it came time for the prince to leave with his new bride, a loud voice was heard yelling. Everyone turned to see what was going on. Surprisingly, it was Kasi. Omar wondered why Kasi came around and why she was yelling. "No one is going anywhere with my prince," yelled Kasi. "He is mine, and no one will take him away from me," she added. Everyone was astonished to hear what Kasi was saying. "What do you mean?" one of the elders asked her. "The prince is mine, and mine alone. No one will take him away from me now that he has finally come to marry me," replied Kasi. There were whispers here and there, as people recalled how Kasi rejected suitors because she was waiting for a prince to come and marry her. "I don't understand what you're saying," one of the maidens said to Kasi. "The prince here came to marry Omar, and not you," she added. "I will destroy the golden staff if you won't let me marry my prince," Kasi threatened. And she removed the covering on the staff she was holding. Everyone was shocked to see that it was the missing golden staff, which represents good luck and success for the maidens. The maidens screamed as Kasi lifted the golden staff to hit it on the ground and destroy it, as she threatened. But the prince quickly dashed towards Kasi and stopped her from destroying the golden staff. Other people jumped in and succeeded in taking the golden staff away from Kasi. Everyone watched Kasi sob and confess about stealing the golden staff. At the end of the day, the maidens of Umueze were glad that the golden staff was found, and things returned to normal in their land. The maidens became happy again and enjoyed each other's company. Omar and the prince lived happily ever after. The end.